Have you ever felt your confidence rise and fall based on one woman's attention? One warm message, and you feel powerful. One cold reply, and suddenly you question yourself. Be honest. How many times have you replayed conversations in your head? Adjusted your personality to be more acceptable? Held back your truth just to avoid losing her? Most men don't realize it, but they are silently placing their value in someone else's hands. And the moment you do that, you are no longer living as a man with standards. You are living as a man waiting to be approved. In this video, I'm going to tell you something most people are afraid to say. The more you let a woman define your worth, the less she will respect you. But when you learn to build value that no one can inflate or deflate, everything changes. And once you see it, you can never go back. Welcome to the channel, Stoic Love Wisdom. This is where every story and lesson about love will help you find the answer. Today, we will explore a new perspective through the topic, Don't Let Women Judge You, the secret to permanently increasing your self-worth. These are real-life experiences and profound lessons that will change the way you perceive love. Follow me, because the most surprising and interesting things are still waiting for you ahead. Before starting, find a quiet place, put on your headphones and relax your mind. Let the sharing in this video help you feel more fully and enjoy every meaningful moment. Are you ready to embark on this journey? Let's begin. Part 1, The Day I Stopped Letting Women Decide My Worth. Let me speak to you as a man who has lost, loved, been ignored, desired, replaced, chosen, and forgotten. I was not born confident. I became confident the day I stopped asking women to tell me who I was. There was a time in my life when a woman's attention felt like oxygen. If she replied fast, I felt valuable. If she delayed, I felt small. If she admired me, I walked taller. If she criticized me, I questioned my entire existence. That is a dangerous place for a man to live. Because the moment you allow someone else to define your value, you surrender your power. And once your power is surrendered, your behavior becomes desperate, even if you hide it well. Stoicism taught me something that changed my life. No one has authority over your inner worth unless you hand it to them. Most men don't realize they are being priced like products in a marketplace of attention. And worse, they participate willingly. They wait for signals. They analyze texts. They adjust personality. They perform strength. They manufacture mystery. They shrink when rejected. They inflate when praised. All reactions. No sovereignty. I learned this the hard way. Years ago, I met a woman who embodied everything I thought I wanted: beauty, intelligence, emotional intensity. Being around her felt like standing near fire. Warm. Dangerous. Addictive. I began adjusting myself to fit her preferences. She liked ambitious men, I exaggerated my drive. She liked emotionally strong men, I suppressed my vulnerability. She liked mystery, I stopped expressing openly. She liked dominance, I performed control. Without realizing it, I was no longer being myself. I was becoming a character auditioning for approval. And here is the truth most men will never admit. When you perform value instead of embodying it, women sense it immediately. Not consciously. Not logically. But instinctively. And when she senses you are calibrating yourself around her reactions, she will begin to lose respect, even if she cannot explain why. Because a woman does not want to be your judge. She wants to feel your gravity. And gravity cannot exist if you orbit her validation. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Yet most men reverse this philosophy in love. They believe, if she wants me, I am valuable. If she leaves, I am not enough. If she chooses someone else, I lost. But what is she truly evaluating? Your looks? Your income? Your charisma? Your dominance? No. She is responding to how you see yourself. This is where the Stoic principle becomes ruthless. Your worth must exist independent of female perception. If your value fluctuates based on a woman's mood, attraction, or interest, then you do not possess value. You possess dependency. And dependency always creates weakness. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. The man who fears losing a woman has already lost himself. Because fear of loss creates attachment to outcome. Attachment to outcome creates anxiety. Anxiety creates subtle seeking. Seeking creates imbalance. Imbalance kills attraction. Women do not consciously reject anxious men. They simply feel unsettled around them. Why? Because a man who requires validation radiates instability. His emotional center is externally controlled. Stoicism is not about suppressing love. It is about mastering yourself before loving another. The first lesson I learned was brutal. I had confused being desired with being worthy. Those are not the same. Being desired is situational. Being worthy is internal. Desire can vanish overnight. Worth remains when no one is watching. The day she left me, and she did, I expected to collapse. Instead, something else happened. For the first time, I asked myself a question I had avoided for years. If no woman ever validated me again, who would I still be? That question exposed everything. Was I disciplined? Was I respected among men? Was I building something meaningful? Was I physically strong? Was I mentally composed? Was I emotionally sovereign? Or was I simply good at being liked? Most men are trained from youth to be chosen. Be charming. Be polite. Be agreeable. Don't be too intense. Don't upset her. Don't lose her. But rarely are we taught to be self-defined. Stoicism demands something different. Detach from what you cannot control. Invest in what you can. You cannot control whether a woman chooses you. You can control whether you choose discipline. You cannot control her perception. You can control your character. You cannot control her loyalty. You can control your standards. When I shifted my focus from, how do I keep her, to, how do I improve myself regardless? Everything changed. My posture changed. My tone changed. My pace slowed. My words became fewer. My decisions became cleaner. And ironically, women responded more. Not because I tried harder. But because I stopped trying to be evaluated. Let me say something bold. A high-value man does not seek to be priced. He sets standards. He sets boundaries. He sets direction. He does not submit his identity to a woman's approval committee. The marketplace mentality in modern dating is toxic because it encourages constant comparison. She compares you to other men. You compare yourself to who she dated before. Everyone measures. Everyone negotiates. But a Stoic man refuses to enter that arena. He understands something deeper. Value is not negotiated. It is embodied. If she does not see your value, that is information, not judgment. If she chooses another, that is redirection, not rejection. If she loses interest, that is her preference, not your downgrade. When you internalize this, a strange calm begins to form. You no longer chase. You no longer perform. You no longer over-explain. You no longer over-invest prematurely. You observe. You decide. You proceed with dignity. That is power. And here is the paradox. When you stop letting women define your value, you become more attractive to women. Because attraction is drawn to stability. A man who is internally anchored does not tremble at female opinion. He listens, but he does not submit. There is a quiet strength in that. And women feel it. But this path is not easy. It requires confronting your ego. You must admit, I have been seeking validation. You must accept, I have been adjusting myself for approval. You must choose. My identity is not for negotiation. This is not about becoming cold. It is not about hating women. It is not about detachment from love. It is about detachment from dependency. Have you ever realized that, in love, moments of silence are sometimes more powerful than 1,000 words? Because in silence, we can hear our heartbeat more clearly and feel the presence of the other person more deeply. Here, I want to explore with you that strength, peace, and stability even when love goes through challenges. If you feel that these shares bring you something positive, please click like to support. And if you haven't clicked subscribe, do it now, so you don't miss any insight into love and maturity. I also hope to hear your story. What is the most valuable lesson that love has taught you? Please share in the comments section so we can learn and be inspired together. Come on, let's move on to the next part with a more prepared mind. Part 2, The Invisible Trap, Why Men Hand Over Their Value Without Knowing. Let me take you deeper. Most men do not consciously decide to let women define their worth. It happens quietly. Gradually. Almost invisibly. And by the time they realize it, their confidence is no longer self-generated, it is outsourced. Outsourced to reactions. Outsourced to attention. Outsourced to desire. This is the invisible trap. I fell into it long before I understood it. When I was younger, I believed confidence came from success with women. The more attractive the woman, the greater the validation. And the greater the validation, the stronger I felt. But that strength was borrowed. And borrowed strength always comes with interest. Here is how the trap works. A woman shows interest in you. You feel elevated. Your brain releases reward chemicals, dopamine, anticipation, excitement. You associate her presence with emotional uplift. Slowly, subtly, your nervous system links your internal state to her responses. If she texts warmly, you feel secure. If she becomes distant, you feel restless. If she compliments you, you feel powerful. If she criticizes you, you feel diminished. Without noticing, she becomes the thermostat of your emotional climate. And when another human controls your emotional temperature, you are no longer sovereign. Stoicism calls this slavery to externals. Epictetus taught, if you seek to please others, you lose your freedom. Most men believe they are being loving, attentive, or invested. In reality, they are negotiating their identity. Let me give you an example from my own life. I once dated a woman who was unpredictable. Some days she was affectionate. Other days she was distant. Instead of remaining centered, I adjusted constantly. If she pulled back, I tried harder. If she seemed unimpressed, I elevated my effort. If she questioned me, I defended myself. I told myself I was fighting for love. But what I was really doing was fighting for validation. And the more I fought, the weaker I appeared. Why? Because strength does not chase stability. It embodies it. There is a psychological principle at play here. Intermittent reinforcement creates addiction. When affection is inconsistent, the mind becomes hyper-focused on regaining it. You start analyzing every interaction. You try to win back the high. This is not love. This is dependency disguised as passion. And many modern relationships are built exactly on this unstable rhythm. You become obsessed not with the woman, but with restoring your internal sense of worth. That is the trap. You think you want her. But what you actually want is the feeling of being chosen. Here is a hard truth. If being chosen is your primary source of confidence, you will always be emotionally vulnerable. Because choice can be withdrawn. The Stoic path requires emotional independence before romantic involvement. Not coldness. Not indifference. But stability. Ask yourself honestly. When a woman loses interest, do you feel curiosity, or panic? Do you think, interesting, perhaps we are not aligned? Or do you think, what did I do wrong? How do I fix this? The second response reveals internal fragility. And fragility invites imbalance. Women, whether consciously or unconsciously, test for stability. Not through dramatic exams, but through subtle shifts. They delay responses. They disagree. They challenge boundaries. They fluctuate moods. They are not evil for this. They are observing. And if your internal state shakes with every movement, you communicate something without words. My center is not solid. A man with a solid center does not overreact. If she withdraws slightly, he continues his life. If she questions him unfairly, he responds calmly, or disengages. If she leaves, he processes it privately without self-collapse. This is not emotional suppression. This is emotional discipline. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed." Most men misinterpret rejection as injury. But rejection is simply information. It says, "She does not choose you." It does not say, "You are unworthy." Only your ego translates it that way. And ego, when wounded, seeks immediate restoration. That is why men chase after being rejected. They want their ego repaired. But every time you chase someone who has withdrawn, you are silently declaring, "My self-image depends on reversing your decision." That declaration reduces your power. Understand something deeply. You cannot negotiate attraction. You cannot convince someone into valuing you. And you should not want to. The moment you begin trying to prove your worth, you have accepted a lower position. The Stoic man does not compete for validation. He evaluates compatibility. This shift changes everything. Instead of asking, "How do I make her see my value?" you ask, "Does she align with my standards?" Instead of asking, "How do I avoid losing her?" you ask, "Is this connection mutually respectful?" This psychological reframe restores authority. And authority creates calm. Another hidden trap men fall into is comparison. You see the man she dated before. You see the men commenting on her photos. You see the man she left you for. And immediately your mind enters competition mode. Is he taller? Does he earn more? Is he more dominant? Comparison is poison. Because you are measuring yourself using external variables. Stoicism rejects comparison. Your standard is internal. You compare yourself only to yesterday's version of you. When you anchor your growth internally, something powerful happens. You become less reactive. And reactivity is the root of most male insecurity. Let me tell you what truly changed me. One day after a breakup, instead of analyzing her behavior, I analyzed mine. Not with shame. With clarity. Where had I compromised my boundaries? Where had I overinvested too early? Where had I suppressed my truth to maintain harmony? The answers were uncomfortable. I realized I had been negotiating my identity in subtle ways. I avoided difficult conversations. I tolerated small disrespect. I prioritized her emotional state over my own direction. Each compromise seemed minor. Together, they eroded my center. And once your center erodes, you begin seeking reassurance. Reassurance seeking is the beginning of value surrender. So I made a decision. I would never again adjust my core identity to preserve attraction. If a woman liked me, good. If she didn't, also good. But I would not bend. Not in arrogance. In integrity. Integrity is alignment between your values and your actions. When you act in alignment, you feel solid regardless of outcome. When you act out of alignment, you feel anxious even if she stays. Many men keep the woman, but lose themselves. That is a tragic victory. Better to lose the relationship than lose your internal authority. Because relationships can be rebuilt. Self-respect, once fractured repeatedly, becomes harder to restore. Here is the ultimate realization. Women do not define your value. They reveal your current level of self-definition. If you collapse under rejection, you need strengthening. If you over-celebrate attention, you need grounding. If you fear losing her, you need independence. She is not the judge. She is the mirror. And mirrors do not control you. They reflect you. Part 3, Build value that no one can touch. Now we arrive at the real work. Not theory. Not mindset tricks. Not performance tactics to appear confident. Real value. The kind that does not rise when a woman praises you. The kind that does not fall when she walks away. The kind that remains. Even if you are alone. This is where most men hesitate. Because it is easier to improve seduction skills than to improve character. It is easier to optimize text messages than to optimize discipline. It is easier to craft mystery than to build substance. But substance is the only thing that lasts. Let me speak to you plainly. If your life has no direction, you will unconsciously make women your direction. And that is the beginning of weakness. A man without a mission becomes obsessed with romance. A man with a mission enjoys romance, but is not consumed by it. This was the turning point in my own life. After years of emotional turbulence, I stopped focusing on, how do I become more attractive? And I asked instead, what kind of man would I respect, even if no one else noticed? That question reshaped everything. Stoicism teaches that the highest good is virtue, character aligned with reason. Not pleasure. Not validation. Not applause. Character. And character is built through voluntary hardship. So I began restructuring my life around discipline. Not to impress anyone. But to fortify myself. I trained my body consistently. Not for photos. For strength. I built my finances strategically. Not for status. For independence. I controlled my speech. Not to appear mysterious. To eliminate emotional leakage. I strengthened my mind. Reading. Reflecting. Writing. Not to quote philosophy, but to internalize it. Slowly, something powerful happened. My confidence stopped being situational. It became structural. Understand this difference. Situational confidence depends on conditions. Good mood. Attention from women. Financial wins. Social approval. Structural confidence is different. It comes from repeated proof that you can trust yourself. You say you will wake up early, and you do. You say you will train, and you train. You say you will walk away from disrespect, and you walk away. Each act of self-discipline deposits evidence into your identity. An identity built on evidence does not shake easily. Here is something most men ignore. Women are attracted to self-trust more than charm. Charm can be learned. Self-trust must be earned. If you break promises to yourself daily, you will unconsciously tolerate others breaking standards around you. Because internally, you already know you lack firmness. The Stoic man builds value through internal contracts. He does not negotiate with his impulses. He decides, then executes. And that energy radiates. Let me explain why this matters psychologically. Human beings are wired to detect congruence. If you speak confidently but act inconsistently, people feel something off. If you claim standards but tolerate violations, your authority weakens. But when your words and actions align repeatedly, your presence stabilizes. Stability is magnetic. It signals safety. It signals grounded masculinity. It signals non-neediness. This is why a man deeply committed to his mission becomes naturally attractive, even without trying. His attention is scarce. His energy is directed. His time is valuable. And most importantly, he does not rearrange his priorities to chase validation. When I shifted into mission-focused living, something unexpected happened. I stopped thinking about whether women valued me. Because I valued my time. And when you value your time, you automatically become selective. You do not over-text. You do not over-explain. You do not over-pursue. You do not over-invest emotionally in strangers. Not from ego. From clarity. Clarity changes dynamics. Instead of asking, "How do I win her?" you ask, "Does she deserve access to my life?" That question alone elevates your internal position. But understand, this is not about arrogance. Arrogance is insecurity wearing armor. True value is quiet. You do not need to broadcast it. You live it. There is another layer here most men overlook. Emotional regulation. If you cannot regulate your emotions, your value will always fluctuate. Because emotions are reactive. Stoicism does not teach suppression. It teaches examination. When you feel jealousy, observe it. When you feel insecurity, question it. When you feel fear of loss, analyze it. Ask, what belief is creating this reaction? Often you will discover it is a belief like, if she leaves, I am not enough. Challenge that belief. Replace it with, if she leaves, it means we are not aligned. This shift restores agency. Another crucial element of untouchable value is boundaries. Many men talk about standards. Few enforce them calmly. A boundary is not anger. It is not drama. It is not ultimatums. It is simple non-participation in what violates you. If she disrespects you, you address it once. If it continues, you reduce access. If it persists, you walk away. Without emotional chaos. Without revenge. Without lectures. That is power. Because power does not need to shout. The ability to walk away is the ultimate expression of self-worth. Not because you want to leave. But because you know you can. Here is the paradox. The less afraid you are of losing someone, the less likely you are to lose yourself. And when you do not lose yourself, even loss becomes survivable. Let me say something that may challenge you. If you are afraid to lose her, it means your life is too small. Expand it. Build friendships with strong men. Strengthen your body. Increase your income streams. Develop competence in something difficult. Travel. Learn. Create. The fuller your life becomes, the less any single person defines it. This is not emotional detachment. It is emotional proportion. Love deeply. But never make one human your foundation. Foundations must be internal. Everything else is a complement. In my later years, I noticed something consistent. Women respected me more when I stopped trying to impress them. Not because I became colder. But because I became clearer. Clear about my time. Clear about my boundaries. Clear about my direction. Clear about who I was. Clarity removes anxiety. Anxiety is what makes men seek validation. Validation seeking is what makes men negotiable. And negotiable men are rarely respected long-term. So here is your permanent strategy. Build discipline daily. Anchor identity in self-kept promises. Pursue a mission larger than romance. Regulate emotions through reflection. Enforce boundaries calmly. Detach from outcomes, commit to character. If you do this consistently, something profound happens. You stop asking, "Am I enough?" Because your life itself answers the question. And when your life answers the question, no woman can inflate you. No woman can deflate you. She can only choose to participate. In love, sometimes silence is the answer. It gives us time to listen to ourselves and understand the other person's heart better. That's also the reason I share stories on this channel, so that you have a pause, a peaceful space to reflect. If you find this meaningful, please click like and don't forget to subscribe, so that we can continue to accompany each other on the journey to find a peaceful and profound love. Now, let's continue the rest with me. Part 4, The Power of Emotional Non-Reactivity. Now we enter dangerous territory. Because this is where most men misunderstand the concept of power in love. They think power means dominance. They think it means control. They think it means being emotionally distant. It does not. Real power in love is emotional non-reactivity. And emotional non-reactivity is not coldness. It is composure under pressure. There is a difference. Let me explain something that took me years to understand. Women do not test your strength through competition. They test your strength through emotion. Not consciously. Not maliciously. But instinctively. Emotion is the arena. She may challenge your opinion. Withdraw attention. Express frustration. Compare you subtly. Change her mood unexpectedly. Question your intentions. Become distant for no clear reason. These moments are not random. They reveal you to yourself. If you react defensively, you communicate insecurity. If you react angrily, you communicate fragility. If you react desperately, you communicate dependency. If you react anxiously, you communicate fear of loss. But if you respond calmly, you communicate internal authority. And internal authority is deeply attractive. Let me take you back to an experience that changed me. I was seeing a woman who suddenly became distant. Her replies shortened. Her warmth cooled. Her energy shifted. The old version of me would have asked what was wrong. Tried to re-engage emotionally. Increased effort. Overanalyzed. Instead, I did something different. I observed. I continued my routine. I maintained my pace. I didn't chase clarity. I didn't withdraw dramatically either. When we spoke, I was relaxed. No interrogation. No tension. No emotional pressure. After a few days, she leaned back in. Later she told me something surprising. I was curious how you would react. Understand this clearly. Curiosity is born when a man is not easily shaken. If your emotional state moves instantly in response to hers, the dynamic becomes predictable. Predictability reduces polarity. But when you remain grounded regardless of fluctuations, something happens. She feels your center. And people are drawn to centers. This is not manipulation. It is regulation. Stoicism teaches that external events are neutral. Only our interpretation creates disturbance. So when she withdraws slightly, the event is neutral. Your interpretation creates the storm. If you interpret it as, she's losing interest, I'm in danger, your body reacts. Your tone changes. Your energy shifts. Your behavior becomes slightly urgent. She senses that shift. And urgency often reduces attraction. But if you interpret it as, she's having her own process, let's see, you remain steady. Steadiness creates tension, but healthy tension. And tension fuels attraction. Let me say something that may sound uncomfortable. Women feel safest with men who cannot be emotionally manipulated. Not because they want to manipulate, but because emotional stability signals protection. If your mood collapses at the first sign of difficulty, how can she trust your strength under real pressure? This is why emotional discipline is not optional. It is foundational. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In relationships, emotional turbulence becomes your training ground. Instead of asking, "Why is she acting like this?" ask, "What is this teaching me about myself?" Are you patient? Are you secure? Are you grounded? Or are you attached to reassurance? Here is the uncomfortable truth. Many men crave emotional certainty from women because they do not trust themselves. They want constant confirmation. I still like you. I still choose you. You are still important. This neediness may be subtle, but it is felt. The Stoic man is different. He enjoys reassurance. But he does not require it. He appreciates affection. But he does not depend on it. He loves deeply. But he stands alone. And paradoxically, this makes him more capable of real intimacy. Because he is not loving from fear. He is loving from abundance. Another key element of non-reactivity is silence. Most men speak too quickly when challenged. They explain. They defend. They justify. But calm silence carries weight. If she challenges your decision and you calmly say, "I understand your perspective. I'm still choosing this." And then you stop talking. That is strength. No escalation. No lecture. No anger. Just grounded certainty. Women are highly attuned to emotional shifts. They notice micro-reactions. A slight tension in your jaw. A change in your breathing. A faster reply. A defensive tone. So the work must be internal. You cannot fake non-reactivity. You must build it. How? Through exposure. Put yourself in controlled discomfort. Cold showers. Hard training. Difficult conversations. Financial risk. Public speaking. Each time you experience stress and remain composed, your nervous system strengthens. Then when emotional tension appears in relationships, you are less shaken. This is why men who train discipline outside romance are calmer inside it. Because their identity is not built around emotional safety. It is built around resilience. Let me give you a powerful mental model. Imagine yourself as the mountain. Weather changes constantly. Storms. Sun. Wind. Snow. The mountain remains. If she is joyful, you remain grounded. If she is upset, you remain grounded. If she is distant, you remain grounded. If she is affectionate, you remain grounded. You enjoy the weather. But you are not the weather. That separation is freedom. And freedom is attractive. But here is the caution. Do not confuse non-reactivity with indifference. Indifference kills intimacy. Non-reactivity allows intimacy. You still listen. You still care. You still respond thoughtfully. But you do not collapse. You do not escalate unnecessarily. You do not chase emotional reassurance. And because you do not chase, she leans in more naturally. Attraction thrives in space. Space requires emotional security. Emotional security requires self-trust. Self-trust requires discipline. Everything connects. In my later relationships, I noticed something profound. The less I feared emotional shifts, the less dramatic they became. Because tension feeds on reaction. Remove reaction, and tension often dissolves. And even if it doesn't, you remain intact. That is the real victory. Part 5, Love Without Surrender, the Final Transformation. Now we arrive at the final layer. This is where many men misunderstand everything. They think the goal is to become untouchable. Emotionless. Unbothered. Detached from love entirely. That is not strength. That is avoidance disguised as discipline. The Stoic man does not run from love. He simply refuses to lose himself inside it. There is a difference. When I was younger, I believed love required sacrifice of self. Compromise your time. Compromise your standards. Compromise your direction. Compromise your truth. And if she stayed, I felt successful. But staying is not the same as respecting. And being chosen is not the same as being valued. It took years for me to understand something simple. A woman can love you, and still lose respect for you. Respect erodes when you abandon yourself. So the final transformation is this. You learn to love fully, without surrendering your center. Let me explain what that looks like in practice. You care deeply. But you do not beg. You express affection. But you do not overinvest prematurely. You communicate openly. But you do not over-explain your existence. You compromise on preferences. But never on principles. That distinction changes everything. Most men lose value not through dramatic weakness, but through small consistent concessions. You cancel your plans too often. You tolerate subtle disrespect. You hide opinions to avoid tension. You say, "It's fine," when it isn't. Each moment seems harmless. Together, they reshape your identity. And once you train someone to see you as negotiable, reversing that perception becomes difficult. So here is the ultimate rule. Never trade long-term self-respect for short-term emotional comfort. If you remember nothing else, remember that. Because emotional comfort is seductive. It whispers. Don't upset her. Don't risk conflict. Just adjust slightly. But every adjustment away from your truth chips at your foundation. And women feel that. They may not say it. But they sense when a man bends too easily. Respect is rooted in consistency. If your values shift depending on her mood, your value shifts too. Now let's talk about love itself. Real love is not built on validation exchange. It is not. You make me feel worthy. I make you feel worthy. That is dependency. Real love is. I am already whole. You are already whole. We choose to share life. That is powerful. Because when two whole individuals connect, they amplify each other. When two incomplete individuals connect, they drain each other. The difference is subtle but profound. In my later years, I entered relationships differently. I did not lead with intensity. I led with clarity. Clarity about my direction. Clarity about my boundaries. Clarity about my pace. If she aligned, beautiful. If she didn't, peaceful separation. No chasing. No convincing. No dramatic exits. just alignment or non-alignment. This mindset removes fear. And without fear, love becomes clean. You can express, "I enjoy being with you," without attaching, "I need you to stay." You can say, "That behavior doesn't work for me," without threatening. "If you don't change, I'll punish you." You can walk away calmly if necessary. Not to provoke regret, but to preserve integrity. Here is something few men realize. The ability to walk away peacefully is more powerful than the ability to make someone stay. Because making someone stay requires pressure. Walking away requires strength. And strength commands respect, even in absence. Now let me tell you the final secret. When you stop letting women define your value, you also stop needing to prove it. You stop performing masculinity. You stop exaggerating success. You stop forcing dominance. You stop playing psychological games. You become simple, grounded, clear, present. And simplicity is rare in a world full of performance. Women are constantly surrounded by men trying to impress, trying to be different, trying to be mysterious, trying to be alpha. But a man who is simply centered, he stands out without effort. Because he is not competing. He is choosing. There is enormous power in that shift. From competitor to selector. From validation seeker to standard holder. From reactive to composed. From negotiable to principled. But remember, this is not about ego. It is about alignment. If you hold high standards, you must live by them. If you demand respect, you must act respectfully. If you expect loyalty, you must be loyal to your word. Integrity amplifies value. Hypocrisy destroys it. So ask yourself honestly. If a woman entered your life today, would she enhance your mission? Or distract you from it? If she left tomorrow, would your life collapse? Or continue forward with purpose? Your answers reveal your level. The Stoic path in love is not glamorous. It is disciplined. It requires daily awareness, daily self-checking, daily refusal to outsource your worth. But once internal value becomes stable, something beautiful happens. You stop fearing loss. And when you stop fearing loss, you love better. Because fear no longer contaminates your affection. You are not loving to secure. You are loving to share. You are not investing to guarantee outcome. You are investing because it aligns with your character. That is freedom. And freedom is the highest form of attraction. Let me leave you with this final reflection. A woman can admire you. She can desire you. She can choose you. She can leave you. None of those events define you. Your discipline defines you. Your standards define you. Your mission defines you. Your integrity defines you. Women do not set your price. They either recognize your value, or they don't. And recognition is not required for value to exist. When you understand this fully, you no longer chase approval. You no longer fear rejection. You no longer bend for attention. You stand. And from that stance, you love. Strongly. Calmly. Without surrender. That is the final transformation. And once you reach it, no one can ever price you again. Conclusion. In the end, this is not a story about women. It is a story about you. About the silent contracts you made with yourself. About the moments you shrank to be accepted. About the times you confused being chosen with being worthy. Don't let women define your value does not mean reject love. It means reject dependency. It means understanding that attraction is fluid, but character is fixed. Attention can rise and fall. But discipline compounds. Someone's interest can fade, but your integrity must not. The Stoic path in love is simple, but not easy. Build yourself until your confidence is structural, not emotional. Love deeply, but never from fear. Set standards, and live by them first. Stay calm when tested. Walk away when alignment is broken. When your worth is self-generated, you stop negotiating your identity. You stop performing. You stop chasing validation. You stop asking, am I enough? Because your life answers that question daily. A woman may admire you. She may doubt you. She may choose you. She may leave you. None of those events determine your value. They only reveal compatibility. The man who understands this becomes free. Free from desperation. Free from emotional manipulation. Free from the marketplace of approval. And when a man is free, he becomes powerful. Not loud. Not arrogant. Not cold. Just grounded. And from that ground, he can love without surrendering himself. Your value was never meant to be priced. It was meant to be embodied. Thank you for watching today's video. I'm so happy to share my lessons about love and relationships with you. I hope you learned something new and can apply it to your life. If you find the video useful, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. Thank you for always accompanying and supporting me. Wish you a good day and don't forget to love yourself a lot.